Kia ora everyone and welcome back. On today's show we have a very special guest, this guy. He calls himself Libertalia and he has some interesting viewpoints on how the world works. So, Libertalia, take it away.
Welcome to Libertalia, a channel where we behave like real human beings, asking uncomfortable questions.
Oh, I am all about these uncomfortable questions. So, are we covering where babies come from today, are we?
One of the uncomfortable questions that comes to mind is when you look at the sun, because the sun is super awesome, great, because if without the sun you would not exist. You would not be able to produce vitamin D for your body, and you would not be able to get warm and have all the privileges that we have as human beings on this flat earth plane. But
You were doing so well until you mentioned that whole flat plane earth nonsense.
when I look at the sun and I see these rays coming in, like at forming these angles.
Wait a minute, your triangle doesn't even match up with your lines.
And the hot spots over the planet and the surface of the earth and the oceans.
Oh, I'm not going into the crap about those hot spots. Sly, he's done a fantastic video where he debunks them and Lily at the same time. Link to his video will be in the description below.
It kind of comes to my mind when an artist is painting what he sees, like any common mortal in the sky, and he sees these angles and...
Okay, so he goes on for a little bit here, but basically what he's trying to say is that his corpuscular rays prove a small and local sun. And he's also being a tad disingenuous by tilting his image and purposely using a triangle that doesn't quite match up with his lines. He's trying to trick you into thinking that they are not running parallel, when in fact they are. The reason why this is important is with our sun being 150 million kilometers away, all light is coming in at parallel. And this is where perspective, the Flattard's favorite word, comes into play. Because as we know, lines that run at parallel all seem to converge at the infinity. Much is what's been shown on his image when we haven't tilted or altered it in any way.
And of course, when you see this triangle forming between the sun and the hotspot and everything else, kind of reminds me of this shape.
Yeah, funny that a triangle is going to remind you of a triangle.
Of this triangle shape, pyramid triangle that has something on the top, like an all-seeing eye, which is the sun worship and stuff like that.
Well, it's your triangle. Are you now saying you worship the sun?
So everything is like interconnected with all this geometry and sun, and it's like the truth is way beyond that what you can imagine.
Oh no, but the truth does seem to be well and truly above your level of comprehension.
And if you ask yourself the questions, you see that everything interconnects like a nice puzzle. But obviously those questions are questions that only a certain amount of people can ask themselves in their lives, in their mortal lives.
You're right, but that's because I hope most people aren't utter morons.
And then you have what you call the Arctic midnight sun. Now the Arctic midnight sun is when during the summer solstice every year, from the 65th parallel and up, it's possible to see the sun never set for days, simply rising and falling every 12 hours. And at the same time, when the sun does this in the Arctic, so in the North Pole as we call it, even in the actual South Pole, so the Antarctic, the sun disappears for 2 months. So those same 2 months...
Again, he takes his time reaching his point, but what he's basically trying to say is when there's a 24-hour period of sunlight in the North Pole, there'll be a 24-hour period of darkness in the South Pole. Now, this is explained on both the Flattard and the globe model. On the globe model, this is caused by the Earth's tilt. So during the northern summer, the North Pole will be tilted towards the sun, whereas the South Pole will be tilted away, and vice versa during the southern summer. On the Flattard model, during the northern summer, the sun's moved closer to the North Pole. The whole thing, though, starts to fall apart when we consider the southern summer. But let's let this guy explain it, shall we?
Which means that the sun is actually circling around, and it's closer in that period to the North Pole, so it's further away from the south, when in the southern hemisphere, as we call it, which is wrongly called that way.
Why is atmosphere called wrong? You do know what the term means, right? It is the envelope of gas around the Earth or another planet. The description would still be the same whether we're on the flat disk or a globe. But I suspect you don't like it because it has the word sphere in it.
it's winter. So in the north is summer and in the south is winter. And when in the north is winter and the south summer, then the sun has a bigger radius. But obviously you have to combine that with what we read in the book of Enoch when we speak about the portals that the sun travels to.
Oh, for fuck's sakes. Portals? Okay, please explain to me how that would work.
So that's kind of difficult, right? Because the sun is circling around, but then you have portals, so you might have more than one sun.
Really? More than one sun? When has this ever been documented? How come no matter what we always see the same sun? Look, you can't just come up with this crap. You've got to provide some evidence to support it. And simply saying, "But me holy book," isn't evidence.
The sun might be very artificial. It might be just a projection through the dome. Who knows?
Wait, I thought that the sun and the moon were inside your dome. But look, even if it were outside the dome, how does that light up the entirety of your South Pole?
But what's clear is that we do not live on a globe that spins and rotates and has curvature, and it's freaking spinning all the way around. Everything is spinning, the planets and the sun and the moon and the galaxy and the universe, and everything is like such a super awesome great speed.
Okay, so we don't live on a globe because of sun portals. Let's do a quick Occam's razor test here, shall we? So firstly, let's say that the sun circles the earth, flies through magical portals, sometimes duplicating itself, sometimes appearing as a projection on a glass dome, which somehow manages to light up a greater area in the south than it does in the north. Or the earth is a globe, is tilted at roughly 23.5 degrees, allowing the sun's light to strike it evenly depending on your position on the globe.
And then you have the moon, because if you speak about the sun, you have to speak about the moon.
No. If you're not smart enough to handle the sun, what makes you think you're smart enough to tackle the moon?
The moon phases are the same every single time, every single month, across years and centuries and thousands of years. And obviously that's the reason why you have moon and month have the same name, because the months are actually the cycle of the moon and the moon phases. So
close enough.
Pretty much what happens with the moon and the sun actually clearly explains what we call time, because time is not the hour and the minute and the second. That's just an artificial way of enslaving humanity.
What? Okay, seconds and hours were used to track time, not enslave humanity. I mean, the fuck? Seriously?
Time is actually the phase of the moon and the position of the moon according to the sun.
No, that's not time. That's just another way of tracking time. You fucking...
So what happens up there in the sky actually explains the passing of time and day and night. And the moon phases are actually the same all the time. And if the moon would move and the sun and earth and everything would freaking spin all the time and super awesome, mega ultra impressive speeds, then you would never see the same phases of the moon every single time.
Why not? Let's say, for instance, you were driving down the motorway at 100 kilometers per hour and you had a car next to you driving at 100 kilometers per hour. Would that car change every time you looked at it? No. It would be the same every time relative to you.
But obviously that's very easily explained, because the Big Bang, when it happened, all the particles exploded in such a way that they randomly made all this possible. And then if you speak about the moon, you have the full moon during the day, and I have seen the full moon during the day, you have seen it, and that's kind of like a cognitive dissonance, right? Because the full moon on a spinning ball, call it how you want, ball, earth, spheroid, whatever you want to call it, geoid, it's impossible, because if the moon is between the earth and the sun, then from the earth, when you see the moon, you would see it black.
Why do flatards always think two-dimensionally? Okay, the path of the moon isn't flat. It's tilted at about 5 degrees, meaning that the earth doesn't get in the way between the sun and the moon. So no, it wouldn't always appear black.
because it's in front of the sun. So the only time you would have full moon is when the earth would be between the moon and the sun. But in that case, the only way that the full moon would be possible is during the night. So you would see the full moon during the night, but no one would be able to see the full moon on the side of the globe earth when you have the sun rays hitting your face. So but I've seen, and everybody has seen, the full moon. You have the sun, you just have to move your head a bit, but that's obviously something quite difficult for some human beings. You move your head a bit and you see the sun and the moon at the same time on the sky. So on the globe earth, that's impossible.
No, on a globe this is perfectly possible due to the moon's orbit around us. Now you try to explain this on a Flattard model where the moon and the sun are supposed to be on opposite ends. Now, that is impossible.
Well, the full moon is only possible during the night, which means that something is not quite the same. Maybe reality as we know it and as they teach us in school does not, it's not as we think it is, right?
Buddy, either you did not go to school or you sure as shit did not pay attention.
And then obviously the stars. The stars are something else as well.
Oh, for fuck's sakes. Let me guess. Polaris has never moved.
Because you see the stars and the distance between the constellations is always the same. So if everything spins and everything is freaking spinning at millions and millions and hundreds of millions, and the distances, so something doesn't match up, because the stars have always been there, Polaris has always been there, everything has been there. So
Yeah, called it. But no, the constellations are changing. That's the reason why ancient star charts no longer match modern formations. And this change will continue. Albeit the change is incredibly slow and you're not going to notice it in a single lifetime. If we take you back to that car metaphor, we have one car travelling at 100 kilometers an hour. Now the other car is going to be travelling at 100.0005 kilometers per hour. And you're not going to notice the change straight away, but over time you will notice that the cars' relative positions to each other will have changed.
Unless the particles of the Big Bang have exploded in such a way that everything is so perfectly designed in such a way that everything falls into place and nothing happens randomly. It's just like it's a supreme awesomeness of randomness, of perfection.
Okay, so it's clear you don't understand how the universe works. The Big Bang didn't create everything perfectly. In fact, our planet was formed by dust crashing into each other and forming small rocks. These small rocks then crashed into each other to create larger rocks. These larger rocks then crashed into each other and formed a planet, which is still getting smashed by rocks. The universe isn't perfect. In fact, it's a bloody shooting range.
And I feel like a super awesome, mega impressive human being that comes from the monkey.
Oh, don't you dare go into evolution. Just don't. Don't. Okay?
That I am actually honored to come from the monkey, yes. And you know, these monkeys, we realize, we as monkeys, the monkeys don't evolve anymore, but we...
Fuck. You don't come from monkeys. You share a common ancestor with monkeys. Just the same as you share a common ancestor with a friggin' tree. And yes, everything is still evolving. Fucking hell.
We have evolved and we realize everything is so perfect, even though it has no explanation. And of course, you're a human being, so you have intelligence, so you're allowed to think whatever you want. Speaking about the moon, I actually feel very awesome as a human being because, you know, my eyesight is very bad. I have to use glasses. So when I look in the distance at the horizon at Earth level, so like, I don't know, 3 feet above Earth level in the distance, I can manage to see about maybe 5 miles, let's say maybe 7 miles in the distance if it's a clear day, and that's it. But obviously, and I can't distinguish the details in the distance, but when I look at the moon, and the moon is 240,000 miles away, 240,000 miles away, I can see with the naked eye, I can see the details on the moon, so I don't even have to use a camera or a telescope. I see the craters, I see the shapes.
Oh no. I guarantee you that you are not seeing every single detail of the moon.
So it's quite interesting, right? Because if I look in the distance for 5 miles, I barely see anything, even if there's a building there. But the moon, which is like 240,000 miles away, I see it.
Okay, so building, moon. Building, Moon. The tallest building on Earth is the Burj Khalifa, with a height of 838 meters. The Moon, on the other hand, has a radius of 1,737 kilometers. Scale, okay? It's a thing.
I see it. I don't even have to use a military kind of or something artificial. I just, with my naked eye, with my naked, primitive, inferior eye. So something is not right. Maybe it's just me.
Oh, trust me, it is most certainly you.
Maybe I have to go to the doctor and get some prescriptions because those artificial synthetic drugs help you to be a human being, right?
Medicines are... Fuck it. You're an idiot.
So, just think about these things if you want to make yourself the question, ask yourself the questions.
Oh, I have a question. How is someone as dumb as you able to operate a camera? Okay, so he finishes off saying it's not forbidden and a basic human right to ask questions, and I'd agree. However, he's not asking questions, he's making dumb statements. Personally, I think Libertalia should ask as many questions as he can, provided he's willing to listen to the answers. I would also recommend that he reads a couple of scientific papers or a couple of scientific books. It might do him a world of good. That's it. Thank you so much for watching and making it to the end. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you're not already, the subscription button, she's just down there. As always, your comments are more than welcome. I'd like to know what you thought of me, what you thought of Libertalia, and if there's anything else you'd like me to cover in the future. But until then, ka kite.